Emma's life was a meticulously curated tapestry woven from light, authenticity, and trust. As a major social media influencer, her currency wasn't dollars. It was the faith of her millions of followers. Every product review, every lifestyle post was a contract with her audience. Her brand was built on integrity, which was why the message from a seller named David was initially so appealing. The pitch arrived via a cold call, slick and professionally persuasive. David promised revolutionary, deeply discounted beauty products, complex serums, and rare cosmetics that Emma could use and review. The prices were impossibly low, framed as a limited-time market penetration offer. The temptation was irresistible, a massive cost saving on her highest consumption categories, combined with exclusive content for her subscribers. She placed a large four-figure order, using the purchase as the centerpiece for a highly anticipated unboxing and review series. The package arrived 2 weeks later. The unboxing itself was a meticulously filmed event, bright lights illuminating the luxurious packaging. But the thrill ended the moment Emma touched the product. The serums were thick, oddly viscous, and smelled faintly of cheap cleaning fluid. The high-end makeup palettes were chalky, the colors bleeding into one another. It was a spectacular high-definition failure. Her heart sank, not just because of the money, but because she had already filmed the unboxing. She was days away from publishing a review endorsing what was clearly counterfeit, low-grade chemical sludge. The betrayal felt deeply personal, a threat to the very core of her professional existence. Her first step was administrative, a polite, professional email to David, complete with photographic evidence of the defective items, demanding a refund. The email went unanswered. She tried calling the provided support number. A smooth, digitally distorted voice message played once. Then the line cut dead. She tried again, then repeatedly until the number was disconnected entirely, replaced by a simple error tone. Her initial frustration curdled into a cold professional fury. This wasn't just a defective product. This was a deliberate hit-and-run fraud. Emma shifted from customer service mode to investigative mode. She was an influencer, and influencers were masters of digital archaeology. She started with the only real piece of information she had: the shipping label and the persona, David. She reverse image searched the product photos David had used on his temporary, professionally built website. They were generic stock photos of laboratory equipment, easily debunked. She then turned her attention to the call center's VOIP trace data. The initial calls were routed through a complex series of encrypted tunnels, masking the origin. But Emma was persistent. She managed to pull a single faint discarded metadata tag from a PDF receipt he had emailed her. A tiny, almost invisible digital fingerprint that hinted at a specific custom-built CRM software. She cross-referenced the unique digital signature against databases of known corporate software. It led to a dead end but provided a crucial key. The architecture of the scam was international and scalable, suggesting a professional, organized effort, not a one-man operation. The facade of David began to crumble under Emma's systematic pressure. She tracked down a series of burner social media accounts used to promote the fake brand and noticed a pattern of low-level errors. A brief moment where one account posted a celebratory photo, visible only for seconds before deletion. The photo showed a crowded, brightly lit room full of cubicles and headsets. But one detail was undeniable. The clock on the wall was displaying a time 10.5 hours ahead of New York. The scale was huge, and the location was confirmed: India. It was then she found the real name. Deep within the public records associated with the temporary domain registration, buried beneath layers of legal shell companies, was the name of the primary contact, Rahul, not David. David was the Americanized mask. Rahul was the man behind the curtain. Emma felt a visceral surge of realization. She wasn't just investigating a refund. She was tracing an international fraud operation. She doubled down on the IP trace, finally managing to pull a hard-coded static IP address from the VOIP call logs that was used for initial setup, before the routing camouflage kicked in. The address pinned the central hub of the operation to a large industrial area outside Mumbai. Her frustration boiled over into a righteous, terrifying anger. Rahul hadn't just stolen her money. He had threatened the trust she had painstakingly built with her community. She knew dozens of her followers, drawn by her initial excitement, had likely fallen for the same scam. The thought of thousands of people potentially putting those toxic, untested chemicals on their skin, all while believing Emma endorsed it, was intolerable. This was no longer about revenge. It was about exposure and justice. But how could a social media influencer in New York touch a call center in Mumbai? She needed an asset. She needed expertise that transcended simple digital forensics. She called Alex. Alex was more than just a friend. He was an ethical hacker and cybersecurity consultant, a man who lived in the invisible structures of the internet. Emma laid out the entire story, from the chalky makeup to the static IP address and the name Rahul. Alex's voice was cool, analytical, and energized by the puzzle. He committed a crime, Emma. Fraud, wire fraud, and identity theft using a fake American persona. We can't just trace him. We have to document his criminal infrastructure. I need proof that I can show my followers, Alex. I need to expose the whole operation, Emma insisted. Exposure is the goal, Alex confirmed. But we have to do it legally and cleanly. We won't hack their network. We'll use social engineering and open-source intelligence to map their vulnerabilities and harvest evidence that is already exposed to the public internet. Act Third became a tense, collaborative digital infiltration that felt like a high-stakes, cross-continental heist. Their first target was Rahul's digital footprint. Alex managed to link the name Rahul to a public employee database from a defunct, minor tech firm, finding an old, unused professional email address. Using that email as a pivot, Alex uncovered a handful of personal, lightly secured social media profiles Rahul maintained under various aliases. These profiles offered a chilling glimpse into the scammer's reality. Photos of expensive watches, lavish parties, and posts bragging about hustle and easy money. The contrast between the glamorous life he was living and the exploitation he was committing fueled Emma's resolve. The core of the scam, Alex realized, was the VOIP system. Rahul's team wasn't using simple burner phones. They were using a sophisticated cloud-based private branch exchange, PBX, to manage thousands of simultaneous outbound calls, making them appear local to victims across the U.S. Alex deployed a clever, non-intrusive scanning technique, a digital sonar, to ping the system's public-facing ports. He discovered the network had a dangerously weak configuration in its unpatched firewall rules, left open to facilitate quick, cheap scaling, using only the legally public-facing information and a common exploit that relied on an administrative password accidentally left in a publicly indexed configuration file. Alex gained a temporary read-only guest view into the PBX call logs. This wasn't hacking. This was simply walking through an unlocked digital door Rahul had left ajar. The logs were a goldmine of incriminating evidence. They contained a list of thousands of daily call transcripts, target lists, and, most damningly, a pre-written script for the David persona, complete with instructions on how to use flattery and false urgency to close the sale. The logs confirmed the systematic nature of the fraud and the sheer scale of the operation. Millions of dollars were being swindled using Emma's demographic as the primary target. The final, terrifying twist came from Alex's meticulous work. He traced the IP addresses used by Rahul's team for the actual shipments. He found that the addresses sometimes overlapped with the logistics details of several other recent high-profile beauty product scams that had targeted other influencers in Emma's circle. It wasn't just a scam. Rahul was running a scam infrastructure provider, selling the service of the call center and the fraudulent supply chain to multiple crime groups, diversifying his risk while multiplying his profits. He wasn't just a crook. He was a highly sophisticated criminal entrepreneur. The pressure mounted as the investigation progressed. Rahul, alerted by the subtle rise in digital traffic directed at his public assets, started pushing back. Emma's primary social media account, the very foundation of her business, was suddenly flooded with thousands of automated, malicious comments and fake reports designed to trigger the platform's automated systems and get her account suspended. She was effectively being silenced. Then the phone calls started, anonymous, silent calls that lasted exactly 3 seconds, designed to terrorize and drain her battery. Emma knew they were close to being exposed, and Rahul was scared enough to lash out violently. She realized that she was no longer safe even in her own home. She had to accelerate the plan. "We have enough," Emma told Alex, her voice tight with suppressed fear. "I can't wait for the authorities. We need to expose him now before he takes down my entire platform. The climax unfolded as a meticulously planned live broadcast event. Emma, dressed impeccably, her face calm but radiating a core of righteous anger, sat before her high-resolution camera. The title of the stream was simple and devastating. Unmasking David, the truth about Rahul and the scam call center. The viewership exploded. She started calmly, showing the low-quality products. Then she shifted. She didn't rely on conjecture. She used Alex's forensic evidence presented in a compelling visual format. Screenshots of the fraudulent call scripts, the PBX call logs anonymized but displaying the vast number of victims, and finally the clear, undeniable linkage between the David identity and the criminal operations run by Rahul. She revealed the photos of Rahul's luxurious life, starkly contrasting them with the desperate voice messages she had received from followers who had suffered allergic reactions to the counterfeit products. Her testimony was powerful, fueled by authenticity and data. I was scammed, she concluded, her voice unwavering. But this is not about my money. This is about trust, safety, and the vulnerability of every single person who buys a product online. We were targeted, and now we fight back. The broadcast went viral, crashing Rahul's remaining live social media assets under a wave of digital vigilantism. The ending was not swift, but it was absolute. The detailed, verifiable evidence presented by Emma and Alex was immediately picked up by the international investigative journalism community and, more importantly, by CERT-IN, India's Computer Emergency Response Team, and the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. Pressure from the international exposure and the traceable financial data from the VOIP logs led to a swift, targeted raid on the Mumbai call center location. The fraudulent operation was shut down permanently. Rahul, along with several key members of his management team, was arrested on charges of fraud, cybercrime, and running an international criminal syndicate. For Emma, the immediate aftermath was exhausting but restorative. She spent weeks working with the FBI and cybersecurity experts, providing her data to help track down other victims. She was hailed as a hero in the online community, not for her beauty tips but for her courage and her use of her platform to expose a major criminal enterprise. Her integrity, once threatened, was now reaffirmed in steel. To fully regain control of her digital life and reclaim her mental health after the intense surveillance, Emma took an extended, necessary break from social media. She spent time auditing her entire digital presence, working with Alex to ensure every piece of code and every old account was secured. She learned that the digital world, while her home, required a permanent state of vigilance. When she returned, her content was different. She continued to review products, but she incorporated a new, powerful segment: digital security and ethical consumerism. She used her massive platform to educate her followers on how to spot scams, how to trace fraudulent transactions, and how to protect their data. Emma had not only exposed Rahul and helped dismantle his criminal empire, but she had also transformed her personal violation into a powerful public shield. She had ordered a product and received a scam. In return, she delivered justice and reclaimed her digital life, stronger, wiser, and eternally vigilant.